Hello, welcome back to another episode of Football. I'm your host, as always, Gerardo. With me, Tomas. Thank you for hopping back on. Let's talk Selección Mexicana. We just saw Mexico beat Turkey 1-0 with a goal from Orbelin Pineda. And then obviously they got a loss against Switzerland just the other day, 4-2. But honestly, looking in retrospect, after Switzerland pounded the US 4-0, I don't think our game was that bad. Like looking at it like in a bigger picture type of sense, I don't think it was that bad. So we're going to look at both of these matches and then kind of preview the Gold Cup, what this means looking forward to the Gold Cup, the players that we want to see at the Gold Cup, who we definitely don't want to see get minutes at the Gold Cup, looking at you, Charlie Rodriguez specifically. But yeah, before we get into everything, make sure you guys subscribe, like, check out all the platform links down below. Tomas, I have two takeaways. I want you to tell me if you agree or you disagree with these takeaways. So first, from the Switzerland game, Santi getting on the score sheet is going to give him a lot of confidence moving into the Gold Cup since he finally scored after not scoring for like almost 2 years, right? And then the second one after this Turkey game is that Charlie Rodriguez should never get called up again. Do you agree with these takeaways or not really?
I agree with the second one completely. The first one we have to see because he scored before in the Gold Cup final, which should have been a very motivational.
Mm-hmm.
But 2-3 months after that, we had a friendly, didn't score. He hasn't scored since until this past weekend. I don't write it off, but I just have to see it. The second one, I completely agree. You see Marcelo is just dominating Charlie's position, frankly showing Charlie that he needs to take out a notepad on the bench and see how he should have himself done. But other than that, I completely agree with the second one.
Charlie definitely should never see any minutes at this Gold Cup, shouldn't get called up. But I don't want to go in all on the negative. I want to go more on the positive. Let's just kind of recap the Turkey game just because it just ended before we get into the Switzerland game. Overall, what are your thoughts against Turkey? I think, in my opinion, defensively, Mexico were very solid. I loved a lot of defensive performances from the players, especially Reyes specifically, but also Marcel Ruiz. And recovering balls, but also distributing in the midfield is something that Charlie cannot do and have never seen him do. But specifically on defense, I thought we were almost perfect today. Honestly, we were perfect. We didn't really get a shot on target besides the free kick, now that I'm thinking about it. So defensively, I would say we were perfect. What do you feel? What is your biggest reaction after the Turkey match?
What I can say is that my most honest reaction is obviously this is a friendly match.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that everybody's going to 100%, but I'd say that a lot of players going forward look very good, like Chino Huerta, like Orbelin Pineda, but some players just look so out of it. I'm talking about, Julian Quiñones. Obviously, he's had so many poor, every time he goes to the Selección Mexicana, it's like he has two less feet and he's a righty. Every time they give him a good ball, he just kind of like lets it, like it bounces over his foot. They give him a hard pass, it kind of like just rebounds like if it was hitting a wall.
Yeah, that's one of the big things that we kind of were talking about off camera. That's like his touch is so heavy, and as a forward, someone that needs to hold the ball up for us to give us a little bit of get us out of pressure. Like you have to be a little better on the ball.
Like, look, Lord Bentner, heavy touch, not as bad as Julian Quiñones. If you remember Lord Bentner, that's
real ones know Bentner.
Crazy football IQ right there, Lord Bentner.
Real ones know who Lord Bentner is, but
touch, but not even to half of what Julian Quiñones was.
Bro, but Quiñones is ripping things up in the Saudi league. Like he's right behind Cristiano Ronaldo. He's right behind Benzema. He's scoring goals. And that's the argument that a lot of people would say, right? But when it comes to against players that are actually of higher quality, look at the two center backs. They play for Fenerbahce and Galatasaray, one of the teams that are always playing Champions League football, Europa League football, playing obviously top level football. It looks like he was struggling, and he definitely did struggle because he's not playing these guys when he goes to Saudi. Like obviously Ronaldo, he's competing with Ronaldo and Benzema, but Ronaldo and Benzema they are far past their prime, and they're still putting up better numbers than Quiñones, who is in the prime of his career. You would think that some of that would have to translate into the national team, but it just hasn't. Every single time he puts on a Selección Mexicana shirt, it's like it weighs him down. And I like he obviously you can see him trying to give his all. Like there was maybe one or two moments that today was pretty positive. At least I mean he wasn't all horrible, right? But other than that, there was that 1v1 where he takes a touch. Like he was pretty much clear. If he took a better touch, he would have been 1v1 with the keeper. Should have finished it. But his touch was so heavy, he hits it right to the keeper.
I don't understand him because okay, let's say I see at America he played as a wing. You know those heavy touches favored him in occasions,
Mm-hmm.
but so then play him on the wing. But then we see he doesn't produce on the wing in Mexico, so
Mm-hmm.
they try him as a 9, but he doesn't produce as a 9. So he doesn't produce. Just take him out.
Exactly. And going past Julian Quinones, looking at all the players that played today, and I mean, just looking at the overall performance of the team, I like what I saw. Going forward, we had our chances. I just wish we were a lot more concrete going forward. I mean, a lot more consistent because it's not like we didn't have opportunities. We could have made this game at least 2-0,
Yeah.
at least 2-0 if it wasn't 3-0. But that's the problem that separates our national team with national teams of Switzerland's quality, for example. I'm not going to try to compare with Turkey because we just beat them, but of Switzerland's quality. Against Switzerland, we had at least 5 chances to only score 2. Switzerland had 5 chances, they scored 4.
Yeah.
So when we go to the Gold Cup, preparing for the World Cup, that's one of the biggest things that El Vasco has to work on is our forwards and midfielders. They're finishing their consistency in front of goal, making sure that with the chances that we have been creating, because I remember days or like years in the past, maybe just like 2-3 years ago, we would complain so much about how little chances we would create going forward. It was always very stagnant play, side to side, very boring football. But now it's a little bit more attractive, our style of football, a lot more direct because we're not trying to fucking play like a tiki-taka style of football going back and forth, trying to play pretty passes. We're playing direct into our strikers that know kind of what to do, but now we just can't really finish all the opportunities that we're getting. So that's definitely something that we have to look out for, kind of looking forward to the Gold Cup. Any other takeaways or things that really stuck out to you from this Turkey match?
From the Turkey match, I mean, I like Orbelin Pineda, but he's always been that type of player that gets things going. I like Marcel Ruiz. I mean, we just know the quality, and we've done that. He's deserved a call up. I liked Chino Huerta coming in. I'm not gonna
Me
lie.
too.
Huerta was I mean fairly decent. You pointed out at first, and I just kind of seen it after, and then he balled out a little bit more. Roberto Alvarado played pretty mediocre for what we're used to from him because we're used to him being a little bit more direct. Even seeing him play versus teams in this past what was it, the Nations League versus the US and sorry, not the US, versus Canada and
Panama.
Panama. And we were pretty much surprised how good he was pairing up versus Alfonso Davies. But fast forward to this match, that's why I said earlier I don't know how much we can judge off a friendly match because obviously the players try harder later on. I mean, Alexis Vega didn't look like he was trying the hardest. I mean, the first few parts of the match, I was watching it on a TikTok live. Somebody said that Alexis Vega was still drunk, so I mean, he's still celebrating. So we don't know how much that affects him when he turns that switch on that he's in an official tournament. We'll just have to wait. But I definitely like Marcel Ruiz, definitely like Orbelin Pineda, but we're used to that from Orbelin Pineda. We just need more of it.
Someone that you didn't include, but I feel like should be included in a list of players that I think passed this test, just in this game specifically, is Reyes, because I think he can easily replace Montes. I know that center back partnership between Montes and Johan has been kind of like a lifeline in these past few years because, I mean, they're kind of like the most rescatable that you can get from the national team in recent years. Defensively, they've always been solid together. But Montes, in like the past few matches, he's just been shaky. He doesn't fill me with confidence with the feet on his ball. I mean, to be fair, he's playing in Russia. He's not playing a competitive league. He's not playing with with millions of eyes on him, where he can be judged. So I can't see how he's performing in the Russian league. Whereas someone like Reyes, we're constantly seeing him performing well with America as a right back, but let alone playing at center back, which is his natural position. I thought he did very well today on the ball, off of the ball, in the air. Very solid. Montes today I'm not saying that he was bad, but just given the Switzerland game and then what we saw in the Nations League against Honduras specifically, those moments do stick out to me a lot. But Reyes is one that I think definitely to keep an eye on. He'll definitely be at the World Cup, but I could see him potentially taking Montes' spot if Montes slips up again, especially with Johan Vazquez coming up. But go for it.
It's a thought, but I just really like that pairing.
Yeah, that's a thought right there.
Like Israel Reyes pretty decent in the Copa Oro, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, the Copa Oro in the Nations League.
Nations League,
Because
yeah.
sometimes he would give some hospital balls, some hard passes back, and it's very difficult to trust a player that's.
But you can say the same thing about Montes.
I mean, the thing with Montes is that Montes fucking up is new to us. Like Montes not being secure is new to us. Like it's something. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's with the loss of quality that he took from Mexico to Spain. Now he's playing it obviously in a different country. But it's maybe that, going from Spanish football where you're more technical and now you're going to, Russian football where it's, I mean, it's just I haven't watched it, so I can't judge it, but I know it's subpar.
Just football.
I know it's total. I know it's subpar. Maybe it could be that, and in that case, I'd say put Israel Reyes up because we know that the Mexican league, although it's a slow-paced league, it's a technical league.
I think we have to see how he performs with Johan Vazquez again, because that's when I think he performs at his best too, because they have that chemistry. So I'm pretty sure there's no doubt that we're going to see them start in the Gold Cup at some point if Johan is ready to play. Maybe we won't see any mistakes if he's playing next to Johan. So we'll see what happens. Definitely looking forward to the Gold Cup. Now going to the Switzerland.
Okay. I was going to say that. I forgot. Israel Reyes plays right back as well. I mean,
yeah.
I know Rodrigo Huescas isn't there. So it's just, I mean,
just a
third possibility.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind seeing him at right center back only if he's not really going forward. Kind of like what Koundé does at Barca, where he doesn't go forward that often, or at least in the past few seasons. Very similar. He just tucks in as a third center back or kind of like into the midfield, letting Gallardo go forward or Mateo Chavez on that left side.
I mean, so makes me nervous going forward. I feel like I get the same feeling from Israel Reyes going forward.
Yeah, I'd rather have him tuck in as another center back, just playing like three at the back. Definitely a lot of possibilities having versatile players like him. So that's why I do love like that he's there. Now, kind of just going over the Switzerland game, I feel like we couldn't learn too much about this match only because we saw players like Lara, for example, that they're not even going to be a thought going into the Gold Cup. They're not going to be playing at the Gold Cup. And he was one of the worst performers, to be fair.
It's because you're talking about a team that's mixed with B and C team players, technically. I mean, you have Tala, which is the B team goalkeeper. Yeah, I mean, the center backs were just, they're B team center backs. Maybe even the left center back's a C team center back. My thought is this: everybody blames Tala. I get it. Tala had one mistake, but it's also look at the defenders they give him versus the quality. I mean, we've seen Switzerland in the Euro. They're a fairly decent squad. I know they didn't use all their starters, but they used about like 6 or 7 of their starters. I mean, they went to what quarters, right? They lost to England in quarters and penalties.
Yeah,
with Safegate, but but I mean, bro, they knocked out the current champs of the Euro that year. Beating Italy 2-0 in the round of 16. Mm-hmm. So they're a fairly decent squad. We need to reflect off of that because we saw what they just did to the US. They ran them hard. This is looking like, even though we used our BC team, this is looking like it was sort of a victory in that sense, thinking that these players are averaging 23 years old. They're not the starting players. They're barely coming up out of our domestic league.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just our BC team is able to score 2 goals on Switzerland, whereas the US's team wasn't even able to put a dent in them.
Yeah. And thinking about it too, looking at that match, there was the clear offside for the third goal. I think if they don't score that third goal, I think Mexico could have tied. I think the match wouldn't have been I think it would have been a little tighter. Yeah, definitely a tie would have been in the works.
Yeah, so it's just, I mean, it's funny how these results play out because the US-17 fans are like, oh, they just beat Mexico 4-2. That means they're cake. And I'm just like, so where was the cake at?
Now moving forward from these 2 matches, I guess you can take all your conclusions yourself. Let me know what you guys think from these 2 international friendlies down in the comments below. But now the Gold Cup is just around the corner. Starting this Saturday, Mexico opens up their match against Dominican Republic. Then they play Suriname and ends with Costa Rica. Honestly, I think the Switzerland, and the Turkey match were way more important just because of the level of quality of teams that we're going to be facing against in this CONCACAF Gold Cup is just nowhere near the quality that Turkey and Switzerland give you. But it's what we have. It's what's in our region. Ni modo. Like we got to play them, right? I feel like in these matches specifically against these teams, we should have maybe we could have rotated playing our B or C squad, whatever, and it wouldn't have looked as bad. But anyways, looking forward to the Gold Cup after the performances from these two friendlies. What are your expectations? Is this a team that should be winning the Gold Cup? Is this the team that will get eliminated in the group phase? I don't know. What's your expectation for Mexico in this Gold Cup?
They should win it. I mean, look, Turkey had a fairly decent performance at the Euro as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think they got eliminated in round 16 in quarters.
Quarters to Netherlands, 2-1.
Quarters to Netherlands and 2-1. I mean, Netherlands had a really decent squad. But so yeah, I think they should win it. I mean, they beat Turkey, a team that made it to quarters. They lost to another team that made it to quarters in Switzerland, which with some controversial calls as well, and with the BC team. So I mean, there's no reason why Mexico should not win their local cup when they're competing against teams that were in the top 8 of, I can say, the hardest. Well, not the hardest confederation, but the confederation with the most quality teams.
Mm-hmm. I think, especially given that USA didn't bring their best team, Canada, they do have their best team. I think just Canada is going to be the biggest threat when it comes. And if we get to the final, say we play against them in a final, they're going to be the team that will give us the hardest fought battle. But I mean, we already saw what Mexico can do against Canada in the Nations League. So if it gets to that point, I wouldn't bet on Canada to beat Mexico. I think Mexico, if it gets to the final, I think we'll be winners of the Gold Cup once again. Now, just looking at the Gold Cup specifically, I mean, we should be running through Dominican Republic with all due respect. We should be running through them. We should be running through Suriname with all due respect. We should just play them off the park. And then Costa Rica is the only team I feel like realistically is going to give us somewhat of a challenge just because they have an infiltrator in Piojo Herrera. Only because Piojo Herrera kind of knows how Vasco plays, knows the Mexican national team players, knows the systems, knows the ins and outs when it comes to the Mexican national team. But we have far better players, far better talents. This is our Gold Cup, and this is Mexico's Gold Cup.
I seen Panama's the dark horse again.
After they just thrashed Nicaragua 3-0, shit, maybe.
I mean, bro, there's been like 4 or 5 tournaments where everybody's saying, "Watch out for Panama." Panama could win it this year, and it's kind of like it's that rhetoric since 2021. I'm just like, this is the year. They're starting to sound like Dallas Cowboy fans.
Just delusion all over the board.
Ooh.
It's just this is Mexico's tournament. This is Mexico's confederation. We went through such a hard time in the past few years, but while other teams or other nations have grown, Mexico, like they've only grown to like the worst level of Mexico. But now Mexico's kind of starting to, what's the word I'm looking for? Regain their form in a sense, regain a little bit of identity, which we have lost for the past 2 years. Finally, this past few months here under Vasco, under Rafa Marquez, we're seeing a little bit more identity, and that's all was missing with this team. Because people said that we had no talent or whatever it is, when it comes to excuses, but the talent is there. You can see it. I mean, there's players going to Europe. There's young ones, there's older ones that are still balling out when it comes to the best leagues in the world. Looking at Santi and Raul. This is Mexico's Gold Cup. I think Mexico definitely should be reaching the final, should be beating whoever's in front of us in the final as well.
No, I agree. I mean, like you said, under Vasco Aguirre, it's been different. Where, as people were saying, this team has no talent. Like, where do you guys want to get the talent from? It wasn't the talent; it's the intensity that these teams had to play with. You could be, less talented than a lot of teams and compete. I mean, look at Mexico in 1999. You're gonna tell me Cuauhtemoc Blanco, our most talented player in '99, was more talented than Ronaldinho back then? No. You're gonna tell me that Javier Borghetti, our most talented player in 2005, was more talented than Ronaldinho, Kaká, Roberto Carlos, and every Brazilian they took to that Confederations Cup, and we still beat them? No. It's grit. It was passion. We beat them just off of that, off of having national pride. And that's something that Vasco Aguirre is reinstilling. And that's why I feel more confident with that.
And that's why I feel when it comes to this Gold Cup, this because a lot of these players are gonna have a point to prove. This is why I feel like this is the Gold Cup that we're just gonna completely dominate every single match, every single team in front of us, because there's so much points to prove to media, to fans, to old players, whatever it is. These players are going to look for that trophy to finally put to bed some of those goals, some of that negativity in and around the national team. Looking forward to the World Cup, because a lot of people have this team left for dead. And I feel like if they didn't bring in Vasco, if they didn't bring in Rafa, it would have been like, I think cemented. Yeah, it would have been left for dead. It would have been cemented that this team's probably going to get grouped another, just like last World Cup. But with these group of players, with this coaching staff, I feel a lot more confident that we can do something special. If there's anybody that knows what it's like to play for Mexico in a World Cup, it's Vasco Aguirre. It's him. He's been there. He's done it, and that's when I watch all his press conferences, that is one of the biggest things, or one of the main things that he always says, that he tries to instill that emotion, that passion, that you can potentially represent Mexico in Mexico for a World Cup, which is very rare. It's only happened twice ever, and it's probably never going to happen again after this.
He's kind of like that crazy uncle coach, that you had in the Sunday League that's yelling at you what to do and everything. He's pressuring you. And at the end of the day, yeah, your team wins, but it's kind of just like chill. It's Sunday League, and now it's basketball. Doing that in a professional stadium, it's kind of, it's in our culture. What I want to say.
I think the way I see it is like, I mean, he's not a master tactician or anything like that. He's just a great man manager trying to get the best out of the individual. So I think that's what we're starting to see with some of these players. And on that note, looking at the players specifically and getting the best out of them, do you feel like we saw the best from these players? So going into this next part, I kind of want to do a player rating real quickly. We won't get too deep into it, but maybe just a little blurb about each player and, a number ranking on these friendlies that we saw. And then we'll kind of end it with who we think should be starting the Gold Cup. So, Tala Rangel, what rating would you give him?
I'd give him a 4 because, like, 5 is you didn't really do anything, you just were there. 4 is you kind of hurt the team in a bit. And I keep him at 4 because he did have a couple of saves. He did have 2 or 3 decent saves. And, yeah, I mean, that's about it.
I'm going to go for 5, just a little higher. It's kind of like a D- where you're still graduating. But I think, to be fair, like you mentioned earlier, it's the people around him probably made him feel a little nervy, knowing that he was going to get attacked every single fucking play. Yeah, he did have one error, but yeah, you have to look at what's in front of him too. It's not just him it's not just him on the field. There's 10 other players that have to help him out. So I'll give him a 5.
I agree, because the goalie is the last resort. You think
exactly. Malagon, in this match, he was great with his feet. You can't take that away with him. He made one save, and it wasn't a difficult save. He had to make that save. I guess you can't really take anything away from him. Maybe 10, because there was nothing. He didn't put a foot wrong. So
I'm gonna say 7 because he did what he was supposed to do. That's about it. There wasn't a crazy counter attack where he cleared it like Iker Casillas in 2010 cleared. I mean, he was there. He touched the ball. Had a little bit of fun.
Yeah,
give the man a C. Let him graduate.
Montes, our captain for these friendlies. I think maybe like a 7, where it's better than passing. It's not A+ work. I think there's a lot of balls, especially kind of playing through the midfield, that he just seems so shaky and just giving like hard ass, like heavy ass balls into our forwards. And then obviously he was a little shaky in the match against Switzerland specifically. But I think just kind of a new role for him as captain. I think 7 is good.
I'd agree with you. 6 to 7, because if I was rating it like off of his total development, I'd say like a 4. But just this match is a 6. He didn't really hurt the team. He didn't really help the team. He's kind of just there, chilling with Malagon in the bags. That's about it.
Now, Chiquete, a player that definitely didn't help himself in that first match. We didn't see him in the second match, but I don't know. It's just not the same Chiquito Orozco that we've seen since he moved to Cruz Azul. Honestly, I would probably have to give him a 3. He did make a very pivotal error in that first goal for Switzerland.
I agree. I mean, I'd have to 3 to 4, 3 to 4. I mean, I'd say 4 because that's how I rate Talarangel. You know, one error, and then kind of did his job, kind of touched the ball. So yeah, I'd say a 4. But I mean, definitely terrible to what we were comparing. I mean, how we saw him play versus, I mean, Honduras in the preliminary round. You know, the quarterfinal before the Nation League. He was different. I mean, he even gave an assist. He was going forward. When he was flying in the selección when he was with Chivas, now it's kind of just like, I don't know. It's like he's scared to be himself again.
Yeah. Now, someone that I think probably one of the worst performers, Emilio Lara from Necaxa, the right back. That's probably the reason why he's not getting called up to the Gold Cup, because he just the Mexican national team shirts looked too heavy for him. Did not perform. Very shaky. I'm gonna give him a fucking 2.
I'd agree. I'm gonna 2. he didn't look all there. It's just I don't even know what to say at that point. I'm appalled by his performance.
I'm appalled. Appalled is crazy. Mateo Chavez. I liked what I saw in that first match. I really enjoyed how he included himself going forward defensively. I mean, we know defensively he can still grow, but going forward, he was very interesting. So for Mateo, I'll give him like 6.5, 7.
I'm gonna split into 2. I'm gonna say offensively and 1. I think offensively he's an 8. He's pretty decent going forward. He has a good amount of chances going forward. Not chances created, obviously, but you know, just linking up with his midfielders, with his wingers. So I like that. But now it's just defensively, he didn't help, he didn't hurt. So I'm gonna say like a 6, 5, 6.
Charlie Rodriguez.
There you go, 2.
we're just gonna leave it at that too. I agree. Ramon Juarez kind of had an error in the first match, had a yellow card when he had just came on. There's a reason he's not getting called up to the Gold Cup. I mean, I honestly rate him very highly. He's a good player as well, but just didn't really cover himself in glory against Switzerland. I'd probably give him like a 3, 4 as well.
I'd have to agree. I mean, I definitely like more what I see in America than what I see with him in La Selección.
Yeah, so far, yeah. Efrain Alvarez, the new Chivas player. He was interesting going forward. He kind of made stuff happen when he came on, but I think he just passes. I like a 6.
Yeah, I agree.
Marcel Ruiz played both matches, one as a sub against Switzerland, and obviously as from the start playing almost the whole game against Turkey. You said 8?
I said 8.
I would agree with 8, maybe even a 9. I don't know if the assist that he had, I don't know if it counts as his or Julian Quiñones' assist, but I'm going to say that's Marcel Ruiz's assist because Julian didn't do anything in that play. So Marcel, I'm going to give him a 9 for that. Already doing more than what Charlie has done. Alexis Vega, like you said, he was probably still hungover from celebrating just a few weeks ago with Toluca. Today kind of looked off it. He did have an assist in the first match, and he looked good coming off of the bench. So I won't be too harsh. I'm going to give him like a 5.5.
I give him a 5. No, he didn't help. He didn't hurt.
Yeah. He helped in the first match, but this match just was not there.
Yeah.
Orbelin Pineda, I think one of the best performers in these two friendlies. He looked very alive in the first match, and then the second match was all over the place on the right side, down the middle, and behind defenders. Very active, and I love, just how technically gifted this player is. I just want to see him do it in games that actually matter and more consistently. That's always been his thing, his problem. So Orbelin, I'm going to give him a 9. I mean, he got us a win against Turkey. Our first win, actually, keep that in mind. It's our first win against a European nation since 2021, I want to say, against Iceland.
Okay.
It's been a while.
Okay, valid. It's Orbelin Pineda, I say 8.5, 9. I'm going to stick with 8.5.
Sepu, today, el ángel del gol, el ginecólogo del gol, like they say over in Cruz Azul. He's a great player, and you notice, like, off of the bench, he was very impactful against Switzerland. But today, from the start, I mean, to be fair, he didn't really get any balls into him, so I can't really say anything too bad. I don't want to be too harsh. Maybe I'll just say just passing because I mean, this is the kind of player that's not going to start. Obviously, we know Santi and Raul are going to be our starters. But looking at that third striker just coming off of the bench, if he can do performances like he did against Switzerland, I think it'd be solid work. I'll give him a 6 passing.
I'll give him a 7. 7. I kind of like him running around at least.
Quiñones, I just was so poor today. Like I said, I don't know if it counts as his assist or not, but to be honest, I'm not going to count that as an assist. Heavy ass touches. There was nothing that really I liked about his performance. I'm gonna give him a 3.
I'm gonna give him a 4. This guy surprises me every time, and it's not in a good way.
Eddie Lira in this second game didn't show up. He got a yellow card kind of like when he first came on, but I didn't really see anything interesting enough to really give him a rating. I'm just gonna go passing like a 5 as well.
I'm gonna say a 6. Fuck it. I like Lira. He's pretty decent.
Chino Huerta, he was very active, and I know you rated him pretty highly. You're talking about how he played well this second match. In the first match specifically, he was the one that kind of helped get the opening goal. He recovered the ball, and then it fell to Raul, then it fell to Santi. In this match, he was so active coming on for Vega. But to be fair, I mean, when you see the performance that Vega put in, and then you see, and Chino, anybody that comes on for Alexis Vega, given that performance, would have looked just as crazy, to be honest. And if he scores the goal, if he scores that play that was honestly a wonderful play that hit off the post, I would have given him a 10 out of 10. But I mean, after that play, it was just, I feel like he just kept getting lost with the ball at his feet. Like he was trying to do too much. He looked like he took 2 scoops of pre-workout and drank a Bang. Like when you're just like so like energetic, like a little too over energetic. Like that's what he looked like on the ball. Like he looked like he was trying to do too much.
Yeah, he looked a little bit antsy. I know what you mean. And I was about to say, if it was any 17-year-old that came in after Alexis Vega and got a shot on goal, obviously we're gonna be like, who's this guy? So it's
should have put Mora honestly on that left wing. It would have been nice. But I think he passes. I'll give him a 6.5.
I'll give him a 7.
Santi and Raul, and then Piojo are the last 3. Santi, let's just kind of run him through quick. I mean, Santi got a goal. Didn't really do too much today. I think he probably should have at least gotten a shot on target today. I'm going to give him a 7.
7, okay. I'll give him... Yeah, I mean, 6.5. He didn't really do anything.
The goal that he scored, he had to score it. I mean, there's no way he misses that.
Yeah.
And he would have got a hat-trick if he fucking had a better left foot from that fucking range. Anyways, Raul Jimenez, I like what he did in the first match. Very active as well. The second match, I think he should have done a little bit better with some of the chances that he had. I'm going to give him a 7.5.
Jimenez, 7.5. He's decent. I like how he holds the ball up. I mean, you could definitely see the difference from when Quiñones holds the ball up to Raul Jimenez. Obviously, that has to do a lot with in the leagues they play with and how they develop.
Definitely.
But yeah, I mean, overall, Raul Jimenez is just a far better player. Far.
And then the last one is Piojo Alvarado. I like what he did in the first match. The second match today as well. I mean, every time the ball goes to him, he's not really going to lose it. He's very solid with the ball at his feet. Is good at getting the team out of pressure. I'm going to give him a 7.
I'll give him a 7 as well. I mean, I like he's entertaining.
The last player that played, but I'm not going to give him, I mean, you can if you want, but I'm not going to give him a rating just because I didn't really see enough of him, was Jeremy Marquez. Kind of lastly, going into the Gold Cup, we already said that we see Mexico in the final. We see Mexico basically winning this whole thing as they should. Is there a starting 11 that you want to see that you think we're going to go with, and it's probably going to be our starting 11 for the Gold Cup?
Yeah, I probably will go with the 3-4-3, how Vasco started the Nations League.
You don't think he's going to play this very similar 4-4-2? Because we've seen it 4 times in a row now.
He probably would, but I'd prefer that 3-4-3. I just think it was more. I mean, it depends who we play though, because I feel like we play a lower par Central American team. He might go.
We're playing. Okay, for this first match against Dominican Republic, what do you see? What do you think we're gonna go out with?
I think it's similar to Honduras, maybe a 3-4-3, maybe a 4-3-3, something that has numbers going forward. as opposed to when we'll play, you know, a team like Canada or Panama or the US, where we'll probably play a 4-4-2, keep it safe.
Yeah,
A little bit more.
I can see that. So in that case, in goal, who do you got?
I got Malagon, obviously. I mean, Tala just needs. I don't even know what he needs. He needs a better defense.
You don't think Ochoa can get the start just because he didn't play these 2 matches, and it's just the Dominican Republic?
Maybe he could get the start, but he shouldn't. I mean, I hope to God he doesn't.
Yeah, I hope to God I'm praying right now.
I mean, we need a. It's just like I get Ochoa. You know, he has a good career. I just think right now, we need a goalie that is able to dive right now, not in 2014. We need a goalie that's able to in the air right now. Which even Malagon is questionable in the air, but I just think even if Malagon's questionable, imagine, you know, a 67-year-old Ochoa. It's just insane.
I think just a year until the World Cup, it's important to give our goalkeeper. It's important to already find out who our starting goalkeeper is, not still be rotating players, rotating goalkeepers, being iffy about who's going to be our starting goalkeeper for the World Cup. Like by now, a year from the World Cup, we should know. We should be certain that this is going to be our goalkeeper, and he should also feel certain in net that he's going to have the consistency in net for the Mexican national team. So I think I would go for Malagon as well. Center backs, I don't think there's any duda right there. Montes and Johan, because Johan's for sure going to be fit for this match. I think we can agree on that one. Right back, that's where I'm like, I don't know really what's going to happen. I probably see Reyes since he is the player that also started the final against Panama. So I can see Reyes getting that right back role. Left back, I'm assuming Gallardo just for experience.
Yeah, maybe Mateo Chavez gets a few minutes in versus, you know, the lower part teams.
Definitely. In the midfield, I would like to see Marcel Ruiz. I think after this performance, Javier and Rafa should be like, nah, I think Marcel should be our guy. I like what he was doing with Edson Alvarez, like that double pivot, like they performed it to perfection. I think that's what they would go with too. I mean, I don't think they're blind, so unless they're blind, then they will go with Charlie. But
that's what I was about to say. I'd go with, you know, double sixes and Marcel Ruiz and Edson as the sixes.
Yeah, definitely. Left wing, right wing. Let's just say we're playing the 4-4-2 or whatever. Left wing, it's been Chino. He was the most active.
Keep it Chino for now.
Yeah. The right wing, it probably has to be Piojo. I mean, he hasn't been bad. He hasn't been like world class either, but I mean, you know what you're gonna get from Piojo. Defensively very solid, a lot of back and forth, and good on the ball technically. So keep Piojo, and then up top, I don't think there's any doubt about that. It's gonna be Santi, Raul, or just Raul. If it's a 4-3-3, it's just gonna be Raul.
Yeah. But I think it's going to be Santi and Raul just because, I mean, it's what we're accustomed to so far. It's what he utilized, and it's what worked for him.
Yeah. And I think it's going to be important for this first match, it's going to be important to get a win, but a dramatic win. Maybe like 5-0. Maybe I'm disrespecting the Dominican Republic a little bit much, but something like that, you know, and you want your players to be scoring tons of goals. So I want to see Santi get 2-3 goals if he can, you know, really get that confidence booster that he could use.
I completely agree.
Let us know what you guys think. If you agree kind of with our lineup, what your lineup would be. If you made it this far, make sure you guys subscribe, like, check out all the platform links down below. More Gold Cup content after every Mexico match will be coming to the channel right here. So just keep an eye out for that. Tomas, thank you for hopping on. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace out.